welcome back to HPL. We just saw Kranich go up 1-0 over Dog, beating a Shaman Reincarnate deck with a Rogue deck here in the first game. You know what? I didn't really expect to see, a Reincarnate Shaman deck, the first one, and I didn't expect to see a Kazon Mystic in the Rogue deck coming from Kranich. So we saw a little off-the-wall things from both players there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they queue up here in the second game.
Yeah, something we expected is both of these guys to have their own twists on decks, and Dog, I think, is sort of the one who's going to tend to innovate a little bit more. That's exactly what we saw, but not panning out for him in this first game. Kranich played a deck that wanted to be very punishing to people whose strategies are not on point and making sure they're applying a ton of pressure, even put his own flair in it with that Keys and Mystic. That's kind of picking up. So, I mean, all bets are off for game two. We have no idea what these guys are going to play.
Yeah, now we've seen 6 full games here tonight, and we haven't seen a whole lot of Warrior, which is very interesting to see since it's been one of the best decks in ranked play, and we're going to have to see if one of them queues it up here since we're ready for game 2 between Dog and Kranich.
Guys, get out there on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL, let everyone know who you're supporting, who you think is going to win, exactly what you thought of Dog playing a Nat Pagel, and look at this. When you're down a game, go back to your roots. He's playing Druid here in the second game.
And you know what? Since Dog is the Druid guy, he has to have Wild Growth in his opening hand, right? It just does it for him.
It's only fitting.
It's only fitting.
Yeah, we've seen both of our Druid games so far have Wild Growth in the opening hand, a very key card for Druid strategies, along with Innervate. They want to ramp up that mana and continue to utilize every point of it. And look at this hand. This is a turn 1 Shade of Naxxramas if he wants it. This is turn 2 Wild Growth. The turn 3, another Shade after that. This hand is crazy.
Yeah, this is a great hand, a great opening from Dog, but there's a pretty decent hand on the other side for Kranich too. He's going to need to find a Blade Flurry sometime soon though, because these shades are going to get very big and out of control very fast.
Yeah, you said it. If he doesn't pick up a Blade Flurry fast, these guys are going to get absolutely massive. Picks up an Emperor Thaurissan, but not a ton of action afterwards. So this Wild Growth going to start to ramp him up here a little bit. He's going to want to start finding these 4 and 5 mana spots to pick up cards though. He's shaking his head a little bit. I wonder exactly what Dog is kind of upset about here, what he's thinking about.
He's probably wondering, if he would have kept that Innervate, he could have gotten the Emperor Thaurissan into play a lot sooner this game, because that card is no joke and very, very good in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta believe it's second Shade here. I don't think he's gonna unveil the Shade either, just continue to let him grow. If these guys get out of hand and a Blade Flurry can't hit the board, it could spell disaster for Kranich.
Now, I like this play from Kranich. He's actually going to get the Earthen Ring Farseer into play immediately on turn 3. You need to develop your board as a Rogue player early. You can't just keep taking damage and then play defensively the whole game.
Yeah, this is one of those spots here where Druid can kind of get in sticky situations. No 5-drop here for Dog, so 3 mana going to be floated this turn after he chooses to use that hero power. I wonder if he's thinking about trading in one of these shades at all, or if he's just going to decide, you know what, I don't think 3 points of damage is that much. I don't think the pressure from something like Tinker Sharpsword is going to be too much, and you can tell he's upset with this result right here where he doesn't have any action. It leaves his nose wide open.
Yeah, you can see that he doesn't get to actually advance his board any here, and he knows that he's going to start giving away initiative here to Kranich. And you see him shake his head a little bit because this isn't what he wanted to do with that opening hand. That opening hand looked like he was going to get a very quick win this game.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that Kranich played this turn so quickly, because with 2 Tinker Sharpsword oils and a preparation in your hand, he could have put some very big damage on the board. So I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't choose to think about this a little bit longer. Something that we see a lot in professional play. Kind of guys going through, they have a game plan in their matches, and they just try to execute that along. But context will always change with every single card that gets drawn. I'd love to see him take a little bit more time there.
Yeah, now Dog's going to get this Emperor into play. It's going to make his hand cost a lot less. He's going to gain a lot of mana and tempo over these next turns or two. And you know what? I got to believe he's looking for parts of the combo so he can finish the game out really fast, because these shades are getting very big.
Yeah, it's Azure Drake too, by the way, such a dangerous minion from Rogue. They have so many spells that increase exponentially with how much you can leave on board. So look at that, just gonna go ahead and trade in this board as efficiently as he can. So both of these shades vulnerable right now, but that's an okay spot for him, I think, as long as he doesn't see something like a big Blade Flurry, because look at what's happening on the board right now. You wanna kill this Emperor Thaurissan. You wanna kill these shades before they get out of control, but you only got 5 mana.
Yeah, but Kranich has a pretty good turn here. He can backstab here, put Deadly Poison on his dagger, kill the Emperor, and then combo out killing the other creatures as well. So this is a pretty big turn for Kranich here.
A lot of ways to take care of this board. I mean, he just happens to have all the right tools available to him. SI7, he's just picking off his 6-2 Shade. Even going to take some blowback here, leverage his life total, make sure he can clean up that minion that's on the board, and he's got a little bit of board presence. Now this game, I think, is a matter of whether or not Emperor Thaurissan is going to be enough power for Dog to make sure he can continue to make power plays and keep control of the game.
Yeah, Ancient Allure is going to come into play and draw 2 cards here now. He's looking for something else to progress his board here, but...
Oh, Harrison Jones comes into his hand. That's one of those cards that can be so deadly versus Rogue. Absolutely great draw. It's going to disrupt the way that your opponent chooses to invest their mana into that hero power. It's going to give you a 5/4 threat, and it's going to give you some more options.
Yeah, he gets the 5/5 threat into play, and Kranich is going to be, the onus is on him now to actually pick up his play a little bit. He's going to take his turn to kill the Ancient of Lore here with another SI7 agent combo, but Dog is going to be able to Harrison Jones this weapon here next turn, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out from here. Both these players are trading huge blows back and forth here.
Yeah, Dog has got a couple of different options on how he wants to approach this too. He's not just kind of trapped into using Harrison Jones. I think it is a very fantastic play in a spot like this, but he's hunting for bigger stuff potentially. He could still innervate it out, but it's not 100% for him to do that. Yeah, but okay, it is 100% for him to do. He's going to do it very quickly. Pulls 3 points of damage away from Kranich's side of the board, gives himself another card, and look at this, 9 points of power on board. And Kranich just still sitting there with these 2 Sharp Sword Oils and this Deadly Poison. That Antique Healbot is going to let him continue to leverage his life total in any way he sees fit. But I gotta believe this is going to be a major push for damage right here. 2 Tinker Sharp Sword Oils. That's a 9-power SI7 agent and 14 more damage coming from that dagger. He only needs 5 more points of damage to finish this game off.
Yeah, he got him at 12 here. He's very, very close enough. That was a pretty big draw from Dog here. He's very close to lethal over himself over the next few turns, but he's got to be worried about dying here, so he's going to have to trade off with this SI7 agent.
One of these minions is running into this SI7 agent for sure, but again, he's staring at a 7-point dagger, so he's going to hunt for a way, I think, to put lethal on to put enough damage on the board, so he's got lethal next turn with that Force of Nature. This is a very precarious spot.
Very precarious indeed. It's going to be interesting to see if he armors up this turn, if it lets him play around anything like, extra damage out of, say, an Eviscerate, something like that, get him out of that range.
Look at this. He's going to silence this minion and make sure that his Azure Drake sticks around. I think that's a fantastic play from Dog. And Piloted Shredder to make sure that even if this board gets Blade Flurry, that he's got something left to continue to push for damage. Kranich down to 15, and he's staring down lethal. This Antique Healbot's going to put him back up to 23, but 9, 13, 14, 15, 22 points of damage available for Dog. He is 1 damage off lethal.
Let's see if he can draw his way out of this. Let's see if he can get a kill this turn. Dog needs a very, very good draw here. Kranich is actually considering just dealing in the 7 here while he can.
Yeah, well, he's got that Deadly Poison in hand. I think it's super important for him to get that. Blade Flurry is now a lethal draw. Eviscerate's lethal draw. Savage Roar gets picked up from Dog, and he's going to tie this series at 1 game apiece.
You know what? You go back to playing Druid, what you're known for, and you get rewarded with, look at all of this damage this turn. That is so much damage.
This is exactly why Druid is so dangerous. It's very much in the same vein as Rogue. If you leave minions on the board going into those 9+ mana turns, you can get absolutely punished for it. He picked up some extra cards this game too. He played Azure Drake, played Ancient Allure, so he's digging pretty deep into his deck. When the game goes that long, more often than not, your opponent's going to have that combination of cards.
Yeah, he got a lot of extra draws here. Kranich couldn't find a way to finish out the game there at the end. He kind of puttered and ran out of gas, and Dog found exactly what he needed in the last couple turns and getting in his combo, and that Savage Roar sealed it for him.
Yeah, it's another story in a spot where Kranich really could have used a Blade Flurry to make sure he kept control over this board, but it just wasn't there for him. So able to push a bunch of damage, but it just wasn't enough. I think the really key turn for him there was, not that I think it would have made much of a difference. You'd have to go back and look at it, which you can guys do after these matches are done. You can head over to pvplive.net and see exactly how they played their strategies, kind of analyze the scenarios and see maybe something differently they could have done. He had 2 Sharp Sword Oils with a minion on board and a preparation in his hand, and he chose to very quickly play Azure Drake. I think that's the only spot where I think I would have liked to see Kranich take a little bit more time.
Yeah, get very aggressive very early, because you could tell when Dog didn't do anything on turn 5 that maybe his hand hadn't come together yet in that game. He had a very, very good start, but he seemed to putter out a little bit there in the middle of the game, but then that Emperor came in, gave him a lot of extra mana, and he kind of snowballed from there. It's going to be interesting to see what these players queue up for in their second games. Is Dog going to stick with Druid? Is Kranich going to stick with Rogue? We're going to have to find out when we get back. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.